it's Monday the 16th, and we're racing at Turffontein on the stand-side track. And it's not often that we get to race at Turffontein on a Monday, but it is. And in fact, it is the Vaal on Tuesday as well. So it's a bumper week for Highveld Racing. And as always, we're joined by Alistair Cohen. And I'm just having a very interesting conversation with him off air. And the reason I had that with him is because he's very familiar with the Hollywoodbets Punters Challenge competition that was recently won again in excess of 2 million rand. The reason I asked this, Ali, is because when are you going to be calling your, I don't know what it's called there, but is it like a pick six winner on the card? What do you guys have there?
Yeah, hello, Dees. It's, as you say, a bumper week in Joburg. There are 4 race meetings in Joburg this coming week. So I like the Monday card more than I like the Tuesday card, I must confess. But we'll obviously go through that tomorrow. Yeah, with regard to the pick six in the UAE, it's a competition that runs at every race course, all 5 of the race courses here in the UAE. And it's straight line stuff, much like the Hollywood Punters Challenge. Free to enter, 25,000 dirham pool, so multiply that by 4.5 and you have your answer. Not quite as generous as Hollywoodbets, but anyway, a lot of the locals come to town. They have a go. It's, I'd say, one maybe 3 times the entire season out of 78 race meetings. It's not the easiest thing to catch. I get the emails because I'm obviously supposed to announce after every race the progress of the pick six, and normally by about race 5 I've closed my email because I know that it's down to 0 out of 0.
Is it like, what's it, around 25,000 dirhams you say with no rollover jackpot? It's just 25,000 standard.
Yeah, 25,000 standard. You know what? It gets a lot of the locals through. It's very easy to attract connections to races in Dubai because of the stakes on offer, because of the facilities on offer at especially Meydan, but also obviously Jebel Ali is a great place to race. So connections need no invitation, but to integrate a lot of the locals that obviously love racing, but to give them an incentive with no on-course betting, you know, it gives them something to look forward to. So I think that it might, I'm just thinking, I think there have been 2 race meetings this season where the 25,000 has been scooped. In fact, there was one Meydan meeting at the start of the season where 2 people shared the 25,000, so that obviously splits into 12,500 dirhams. That, you have no idea how far that will stretch out for the locals. So I'm just thinking when the next time it might be one, I think the guys might need to find their crystal ball sooner rather than later.
Yeah, it's very tough, but well done to the Punters Challenge competition with the recent guy, if my memory serves me correct, I think it's Devon that had won it, and well done to him, winning in excess of 2 million rand. Okay, race number 1 at Turffontein is over 11:60. It'll kick off the exotics. It's the bipod. At the time of recording, no scratchings. All 9 runners go to post. And as always, when I preview with Alistair, I'll give you the horses in single figures. Well, the bookmakers can't split the top 2. Number 1, Phantom of the Forest, and number 9, Mother of Pearl. 12-10 and 14-10 respectively, and then the only other horse in single figures is horse number 6, that's trading at 8-1. Well, I think the question will be, are you in the camp of the experience of the 4-year-old gelding or the improvement to come from the 3-year-old filly?
These, I must confess, none of them fill me with too much confidence. My suggested bet for the afternoon is a bipod, and I've gone in with both, and I'm happy to say that the rest of the field inspire even less confidence. So unless any of the first-timers come in for support, I haven't heard a word. There obviously hasn't been any support for any of them. Their breeding suggests either further or will need experience instead of the comments for number 7, Let's Go Global. So I've defaulted to these top 2 in the betting. I was very keen on number 1, Phantom of the Forest, last time out the Vaal over 1,200 meters. He moved up with a bit in hand and didn't go on with it. He made a respiratory noise on that occasion. I don't think that form line is going to end up glowing. Just having a look here, King of Venus from Sean Terry's yard took a while to get into the number 1 box. The only place on offer was a horse who ran 7th, Full Go, who I actually liked to run well last week and ran a place. And then Mother of Pearl, who ran 4th on debut. The horse who ran 3rd, Stroke of Mercy, came out and won. There's a line of 4. Mother of Pearl ran well behind Full Go, and Phantom of the Forest finished in front of Full Go. So maybe that's the stance that you've got to take. A tentative first selection will be Joey Soma's horse number 1, Phantom of the Forest, but I don't think either of them are going to Hollywood.
Yeah, I wanted to actually have a look at Gavin here because Lorena actually rode Phantom of the Forest last time out, and I don't know if it's by choice that he went for number 3 Air Fusion, because that's the only other runner that will keep me interested. Because, you know, Lorena, if he certainly made the choice there, because Phantom of the Forest, I mean, that would have had an outstanding chance, unless it was just Joe Soma putting Kamala on. I don't know the riding engagements, but it's something that I'll have a look at. So 1 and 9 look to be the obvious 2 horses, and Alistair taking no chances with either or, including both in the first leg of the bipod. Then on to the place accumulator, race number 2. You need to get your bets on by 13:05. This is over 2,000 meters. Now, this has attracted a quality field, because there's some horses here that are going to achieve much higher than their ratings suggest, and there are horses that are in very, very good form. I'm just going to let's just give short comments on each runner here, Ali, if you don't mind. Express from the USA, although the distance is a question mark, he was starting to catch the eye last time out.
Encouraging last run, coming to hand, a good horse on his day. I think the handicap has helped him nicely. He's competitive now. He's got 1 or 2 nice horses to beat, but I think he'll be in the first 4.
Gavin Lorena, you know, when he jumps on for Tyrone Zaki, you want us to stand up and take notice. Here's a horse that's in excellent form.
Yep, number 2, Flashy Apache. I think the key to this race was Ryan Munga. I've gone 2 horses in the bar pot. One of them, number 2, Flashy Apache, who Munga rode to good success throughout the spring season, the spring-summer season. His win last time, to me, came over the wrong trip, and he still beat Captain in good style. One of the leading lights.
Number 3, Diesel and Dust, starting to get the hang of things here in South Africa after relocating north of the Limpopo.
Finished in front of number 1, Express from the US last time out. I know that he's a difficult horse. I know that Malanda Toy works hard with number 3, Diesel and Dust. If he behaves himself, he could be competitive, but I'd like to see him confirm that last run, to be honest.
We know that Total Protection did have a low weight in the London News, but nevertheless, against that company, what a cracking run.
Cracking run. There's a line of form here with Electric Gold and number 2, Flashy Apache, and 4, Total Protection. So Total Protection was on the heels of Electric Gold in the London News, and Flashy Apache was well behind Electric Gold on the 6th of December. So that tilts me into the direction of number 4, Total Protection, as my first choice in the race. I think he's a nice, scopy, progressive 3-year-old who undoubtedly will target definitely the last leg of the South African Triple Crown, and possibly even the second.
Well done to Erico Verdenez and the connections of Jimmy Don winning the Secretariat. But this horse, Star Coin, just go and watch that replay if you haven't. The way he was racing that day and finishing off, crying out for the extra distance, Alistair, 2,000 meters, this horse is going to relish. 53 draw 1.
The whole family... Yeah, the whole family tends to go a trip, so maybe he's going the right type of distance. You know, throughout his career, I never thought that 2,000 meters would be within his reach that quickly. But as you mentioned, the last run of the Secretariat was eye-catching. That finish that he possessed was really encouraging. I've got a question mark next to him. He's the type of horse who could win or could run last.
Twin Turbo, low weight with the claim, will only claim 3.5 kgs. Front runner, setting the fractions up front. The others have to be wide awake with this horse, Alistair, because on his day, he can run all the way to the line.
Yeah, Fabian Habib's got him in good nick at the moment. I remember his penultimate start. Candice had a runner in that race, and I watched them very closely going down to the start. And Twin Turbo looked a picture of health and didn't raise a gallop. He was a bit disappointing, but I followed up last time on the 29th of December where I tipped him with quite a lot of confidence. That was, of course, when Fabian Habib had his 3 winners at the VAR. He's up in class. He takes on the best opposition he's taken on for quite a while. I put a few ahead of him, but could definitely get into the money. Should get into the money, to be fair, in a small field.
Yeah, I thought it was fair just to give all of them a mention. It's a small field, but it is a B division class, some quality here. And then just listening to you there, is it 2 and 4 for you in the bipod?
2 and 4 for me. I was very close to banking number 4, Total Protection, but the form that number 2, Flashy Apache, is hard to ignore.
Yeah, and I think number 5, Star Coin, please, if you can want to include one more. At around 11 to 2, that's the horse to include Star Coin. On to the third race. It's over 1,400 meters, and this is a maiden plate. And this race, I think the key to this race, Alistair, and I don't know what you're going to make into it. It is a guide, as I always mention. I'll give you the horses in single figures. 1, 7 to 1, 2, 6 to 1, 7, 8 to 1, 8, 9 to 1, and then 9 is an even money shot, and then they're betting 14 to 1 bar here. Is it a case of number 9, versus the field here, Alistair, on their debut run?
I've left out number 9, Vitellius, out of my bar pot, D's. You might think I'm crazy. The horse who ran third, Camley Court, ran an absolute stinker subsequently. The horse who ran fourth, Baba Birdie, ran poorly. I know there was a horse who came out and won in the form of Black Lightning, but I think he grew an extra leg in the soft at the Val. So I'm not convinced. He's from a good family, a family that Sean Tarry knows well. Malak Al-Maluk was a horse, I think a full brother who ran third in the KwaZulu Guineas in his year. So there's enough genetics to suggest that number 9, Vitellius, might have something about him. But the fact that there was no support, no interest for him on debut, starts career with blinkers on. There are a few disclaimers for me. I'd take him on here with a horse who's been recently gelded, a horse who I've been waiting to be gelded. I know that it sounds a little bit high in the sky stuff, but number 2, stepping out, David Nevenhuizen's had some form. Ryan Munger takes the ride. His earlier form to the likes of Tamarisk Tree, Celestial City, and Meridius, I think, makes him a very appetizing prospect at a price of around 6 to 1. His behavior just seems to have waned, so the gelding operation, I hope, will do the trick. It hasn't been too long since the gelding. It's been just over a month. So David Nevenhuizen's wasting no time to get him back onto the course. So obviously recovered from the unkindest cuts of all in very, very quick fashion. His last run was a tad disappointing. I think 1,400 metres a mile will suit him a bit better. So I think that number 2, stepping out, represents the value. I hope I haven't misread the first time, and number 12, Miss Christmas. Not beyond the realms of possibility that there's a bit of money for her on debut. Lucky Hudalarcus is in good form. Marco van Rensburg takes the ride out of Stallgate number 1. I like the breeding D's. The mare Christmas Carol was trained by Jeff Woodruff. She wasn't useless. I've got an inkling that she'll run okay, but I know nothing. I'm looking at trends and thinking of how Lucky's going at the moment. I think that she might run all right. But I think number 2, stepping out, is a nice proposition in race 3.
Well, that's it. That's how you get the big money, don't you? When you try and beat the more fancied runners and it works in your favor and the numbers fall into place, that's when you drop tickets and you gather momentum when it comes to a dividend. And by the way, Miss Christmas is trading at around 14 to 1 at the time of recording. And I see she is carded to race on Thursday as well. So we'll see what happens with her on Thursday. But Alistair going with a result here, if anything, 2 and 12, the numbers he likes, but the favorite is firm at even money. Number 9, Vitellius. Race number 4 is over 1,400 meters, and this is a pinnacle stakes for fillies and mares, and it's very tight and the best weighted column on top, but topping that best weighted column is number 1, Under Your Spell, at a 114, and then I mentioned it's tight. 111, 110, 110, and 109. That's Humdinger, Follow Me, Eternal Life, and Hollywood Bound, respectively, the top 5 there. Quality field, tough race to try and narrow it down. But if you want to nail your colors to the mast, then you have to. Have you done just that?
I have, D's. I'm very keen on number 1, Under Your Spell. From a pick 6 perspective, I'd have to back her up with number 2, Humdinger, who now gets the services of Keegan de Mello. Humdinger finished in front of Under Your Spell. She was game and defeat over the course and distance just 2 weeks ago when finishing in front of Under Your Spell. But Under Your Spell had the worst of the draws. She took her medicine. She was finishing off her race very strongly. She's a Group 1 winner, and with a 2-kilo swing, and now with a reasonable draw. I think everything points number 1, Under Your Spell. I'm prepared to say that for me, she's the best bet on the card. I think she'll win. I think her class will prevail. And I think this could set her up for races to come. Remember, she ran second in the Empress Club Stakes, 9 months ago. That was a cracking effort when she showed that she's trained on and also stays the trip. She subsequently won the South African Fillies Guineas at Hollywoodbets Greyville, beating Supreme Quest, who she meets again. Pound for pound, she's the best horse in the race. She's the best weighted horse in the race. With the draw, I think she's going to be very, very hard to beat.
Very hard to beat if you're looking for cover number 2, Humdinger, and if you're looking for an absolute crazy selection here, if you're playing it wide in the pick six. I know that she's well held by Under Your Spell on that last start, especially at the weights. But how often do you see Larina ride for Spies? That's what really catches my eye. In fact, if the form guide you're using doesn't have it, the form guide I'm using does. Larina has never ridden for Spies this season thus far, and this will be his first ride for Supreme Quest, and she's not bad on her day, but she does look well held by Alistair's selection on that last start by Under Your Spell. On to race number 5, 1400 meters, and this is a merit-weighted 86 handicap. It's over 1400 meters. Well, the betting goes like this, Alistair. Number 1, Bensoué, 8-1. 2, Fast Love at 5-1. Number 3, JP 2000 at 5-1. 7, Trident King at 5-1. Number 9, Rule by Force is trading at 7-1. 11, Destiny of Souls at 7-1. It's 10-1 and better, the balance. Now, this race, I think if you can get through this with the minimum spend in whatever exotics, it'll be an absolute bonus for you. Last time, I think I may have worked with you, Alistair, but number 2, Fast Love, that was a generous price, 4-1, but no match for Paisley Park, but nevertheless a good run.
Great run, and back in a handicap, he's got to be one of the horses to take notes of. Number 2, Fast Love. I think he's probably best on the inside track. He's not been on the standside track, so it's probably unfair to judge him. But his runs on the Vaal Classic, and you can draw comparisons between the Vaal Classic and the standside track, haven't quite been what they are on the inside track. He's got a nice turn of foot, nice burst, but he doesn't always sustain it. He's in my bar pot, but as you mentioned, it is a very tricky race. Number 1, Bensoué, I think, is better at Turffontein. Also probably better on the inside track, to be fair. But, he finished behind number 2, Fast Love, last time out. He's got a generous swing at the weights, and he comes out of Storgate number 1. So he'll probably just stalk the pace, and he could be effective. So 1, Bensoué, 2, Fast Love. I think the horse they all need to beat, though, is number 9, Rule by Force, under Gavin Larina for Joey Soma. He's a good horse. He's on the up. He beat Future Wolf, who came out and ran a good race in a novice handicap during the week when finishing behind Toffers. Out of the last run, obviously, Future Wolf has run 3rd and 2nd. Lord Veries has run 3rd over that performance as well. So it's not the most glowing form run, but like I said, I think he's a 3-year-old with a bit of scope to improve. I like the way that he won last time. He motored to victory and won with a bit of content, a lot easier than the margin suggested. Handicapper only gave him £4, which might ultimately be generous. I think he's the one that they all need to beat, Chiddies.
Yeah, you mentioned that £4 penalty last time out. I actually think this horse is going to be much better when Joey puts him over a mile as well. But they're sticking with the winning formula thus far, which seems to be 1,400 meters, the distance he won over at his last start. But Alistair's suggesting that maybe numbers 1, 3, and 9 could be the runners to consider here, but we'll get his exotic at the end of the show, which is a buy pot for the show. Race number 6, 2,000 meters. It's a divided handicap for fillies and mares. The betting could be a guide here. If anything, it's very tough, because if it's going to be used as a guide, then the fixed odds betting market suggesting in your exotics you need to play wide. Number 2, Last Cheer, 33-10. 3, Liverpool Legend, 4-1. 4, Go Flickety, 11-2. 6, Midnight Crystal at 7-1. Number 9, that's Aunt Pity Pat at 8-1. And 10, Winning Queen, a 7-1 shot. Well, 33 on top, a weak favorite. It's 10-1 bar. Can we narrow this down, or is it another race where we're going to play wide and hope to double up?
Geez, I must set out my store here. I like nobody in race 6. I've got 4 horses in my bar pot, and if punters can afford, you can't put a pin through any of these. Go in with as many as you can afford. The one horse that I really want to address here is the maiden, number 9, Aunt Pity Pat. I'd love to see a maiden win a handicap, because I think it's sort of untried perspective from South African trainers. You see it all over the world, but for some reason, South African trainers, bar Mike de Kock, occasionally Sean Tarry, 1 or 2 others do it. I think that it's an opportunity for trainers to come into weak handicaps with a light weight. And I think number 9, Aunt Pity Pat, might just fit the bill. For example, last time she ran 3.5 lengths behind Go Flickety, and at the weights, she's got Go Flickety pretty much stone cold from the 13th of December. She has every chance of reverting that form because she is, 3.5 kilos better off for a 3.5 length beating. I think that St. John Gray might have picked the right spot, got Muzi Yanni on board. So, just because she's a maiden, and I know a lot of South African punters, seem to think inside the box when it comes to maidens. They look and say, well, maiden and the handicap can't win. That's absolute rubbish. Make sure number 9 on pity passes and everything. My numbers here, I've gone a bit St. John Gray crazy. Number 2 last year, 4 Go Flickerty is in. And my other horse is number 5, Cerulean Dancer. A race I don't like, I just like to survive.
Okay, I'm suggesting the field here. I think this is an absolute field race. That's the only way you're going to know I'm through if you're running in the exotics. Race number 6, Tough. We'll look at Alistair's short list when it comes to his pot. Race number 7, 2,000 meters, divided handicap, a merit rated 84. And this is a C division class. Let me give you the betting. Well, it's a big, bold statement by Mr. Soma here. That's Joe. Number 1, Belvoir to carry 64 kgs. Number 2, trading at 22 to 10, by the way. Number 2 at 5 to 1, 3, 6 to 1, 4, 33 to 10, 5, 6 to 1, 6, 7 to 1, and 7, 8 to 1. The entire field in single figures, but on top, what a statement this is. Obviously, with the size of the field and it cutting down, Joe would have had this horse in and would have said, let me have a look at it at final declarations. If it comes into a small field, I can assess the opposition. I think my horse is better than this rating because even with 64 kgs, I think she'll make her presence felt here. I mean, there's a lot of thought process into racing horses of this weight, regardless of the opposition, isn't it?
Dees, I'm quite surprised that Joe's running number 1, Belvoir, and I make her one of the horses to beat you. I'm sort of struggling to narrow it down between 1 Belvoir and 4 Trump My Queen. With regards to Belvoir, when I saw, obviously this is a split fillies and mares handicap, and she ended up in the upper class. I mean, they made it an 84. Higher level of the divided handicap. I thought, well, Belvoir of 64 kilos is not going to run because she's a filly that I followed and seemingly got disqualified in her penultimate start. That's news to me. But then last time beating them up with Blossom, who pushed the very promising 3-year-old staying filly Rarotonga Rose all the way to the wire last week. Now, Joe's not one to declare his horses until 1 minute to 11, 1 minute to cut off. And I was, but I looked at decks maybe about 15 minutes before cut-off. There was no Belvoir. She obviously hadn't been scratched yet, but I took it on trust that she wouldn't accept, and here she is. Simunga Kamalo is the perfect man for Belvoir because I think she needs a hard ride. Simunga's given that to her twice, and both times she has, in inverted commas, arrived. It's going to be a hard ask because this horse number 4, Trump My Queen, gets 9 kilos. Now, I know that Trump My Queen won a much weaker race last time out, but if you go back to the 24th of October, Belvoir has an extra 4 kilos to carry, whereas Trump My Queen has 2 kilos less to carry, and there wasn't much between them. In fact, Trump My Queen finished well in front of number 1 Belvoir on that occasion. I know that was in a plated race and back in a handicap, obviously, theoretically they should run in a straight line. But if you're going to take that form on trust and the win that Trump My Queen produced last time out, then Trump My Queen is undoubtedly the one that they need to beat. So I'm going to take a stance here for Trump My Queen to beat the resurgent number 1 Belvoir. I think the turnaround and weights will swing it to Gavin Van Zyle's yard. But I have respect for both. And I don't think Marlon Maika cares which one wins, to be honest, because he's got shares in both of them.
Yeah, you're right. He's the strong hand for Marlon, and of course, Gabby owning that horse in partnership. I've had conversations, and I'm sure you've had, when you discuss weights and ratings, you don't want to get too complicated. But the one thing is, if you take out the 64 and you just make it top 60, then Trump My Queen carries 51. That's 9 kgs. For me, it's not about carrying top weight. It's about how this filly, whether she's going to manage the 64 as much as she could have managed 60 kgs. That's the way you're going to have to look at it, because she's got the rating, she's carrying the weight, she's giving the points away, which translates to weight. But it's all about, how she's going to carry 64 rather than how she was going to carry 60, Ali.
Yeah, Dees, I must confess I've got a big smile on my face because all the conversations I have with the bandits who play golf back home, take the best one down to scratch and move it from there. That's exactly what you've just done.
Yep, 100%, and that is called a match play. Let's move along to race number 8. It's over 1160, and this is a merit-rated 66 handicap. It's an E division class. How are we going in the exotics? Are we running? If we are, tough race. Let me give you the horses in single figures. 4, Timbavati River, 6-1. Number 5, Written in Stone, 8-1. Then we move along to 7, Back to Basics at 7-1. 10, Dark Tide is 9-1. 11, Power Ranger, gone for this in the past. Maybe one more chance. That's at 4-1. And there are form updates here. I'll just give them quickly if you haven't got it. Written in Stone for Brett Weber, ran a good third last time out, beating 3.5 lengths by pinch hit. In that same race was Back to Basics, running 5th, finishing 5 lengths behind pinch hit. And then 11, Big City Girl, ran 5th, 2.5 lengths behind Aniara. Okay, Alistair, it's a big field. These races are very tough. You know, it's often the case in these low E division handicaps over these 1160 trips. You get the same horses often running against each other, and there's form reversals. But Written in Stone, you know, that last start really keeps me interested because that was a good run behind pinch hit.
These I'm taking in my place accumulator, which obviously is not my suggested bet, but I'm going to take a place accumulator and I'm going to bank in number 4, Timbavati River, in this race because coming back to the sprint, I think is key. I know that he's won over 1,400 meters before, but with blinkers over 1,200 meters, that win on the 1st of December was eye-catching, and he's drawn on the right side of the track. I think that he is the one that they all need to beat, number 4, Timbavati River. And I'm going to surprise you here because I'm going to take a swinger and I'm going to take a quartet, and I'm going to box number 4, Timbavati River, double float rather, Timbavati River with number 6, Jet Cat, who's also drawn on the outside. I think this horse is just about ready to go close on his day. He can go close. His runs to Twice the Storm, etc., and Double Magic do stand him in pretty good hardship. Jeffrey Saister now takes her out of number 6, Jet Cat, and down the straight, he's a far better horse than he is around the turn. Ignore those runs on the Val Classic track, on the Turffontein inside track. I know you ran down the straight last time. I'm willing to say that didn't go according to plan. So 4, very bullish. Timbavati River to win the race, and Jet Cat, nice top 4 value in a big field. Hopefully there are no more scratchings. I know that one reserve is out. I'm hoping just the other reserve, or maybe one. I'm hoping for one other scratching, so we get 16 runners on the tote. We can have a go in 4 places, number 6, Jet Cat.
Well, 4 and 6 for Alistair, and my value in the race is going to be number 12, Feather the Nest. Well, you got some bombs there because Timbavati River is at 6-1. I actually haven't jotted down the betting for 6 Jet Cat and 12 Feather the Nest. Those could be big outsiders to include in all your bets. And the obvious source I'm sure many will be looking at is Power Ranger as well. As I mentioned, you know, I've gone for him before, but yeah, he just can't put his head in front. So he runs well. He's always there or thereabouts, but he just can't put his head in front. And that's it, Alistair. That's the 8 races. You've given us a bar pot, and that is your perm now on screen. You want to go through it quickly?
Yep, let's do it. The bar pot begins in race number 1 on the card, and that, of course, gets underway at 12:30. So first race, and I don't like this race at all. I think I'll survive, though. There's a chance I'll double up if the first timers aren't any good. 1 and 9, Phantom of the Forest and Mother of Pearl. Second leg, 2 and 4, Flashy Apache and Total Protection, with respect for number 5, Star Queen. Then 2 and 12, Stepping Out and Miss Christmas. I'm going against the red hot favourite there, looking for a result. By banking number 1 under your spot, I'm very bullish that she'll win. By 1, 2 and 9, Bay CA, Fast Love and Rule by Force. And then the final leg I've opened up 2 last year, 4 Go Flickety, 5 Cerulean Dancer, and the maiden number 9, On's Pity Pat. I think if that bar pot arrives, and just doubling up once, if we're lucky twice, I think beating Vitilius out of the first 2 in race number 3 will gain a lot of ground.
Yeah, that is the key to your selection, which is the bar pot, and I just worked it out. If you're taking Alistair's numbers there, it'll cost you 96 Rand one time, and you are hoping to double up in a few of the legs. As always, an absolute pleasure, my brother, and all the best wherever you're calling during the course of the week.
Shot D's, yep, we got Abu Dhabi on Thursday, the third carnival meeting at Maidan on Friday. That'll be great. Back to a lane on Saturday night. That will, for the first time in 2 months, so that will feel a bit different. And then Maidan again next Sunday. But, yep, very busy week ahead with 4 Joburg meetings. It'll be good. And now we're less than 2 weeks away from the World Sports Betting Cape Met.
Yeah, as always, a big thank you to Alistair Cohen as we say goodbye to him. And on behalf of the team at Gallop TV and myself, Dees Dynan, until we meet again, all the best if you're punting on this Monday at Turffontein. Alistair's given you a bar pot. We've picked out some outsiders in the respective races as well. Hopefully everything goes according to plan. And until we meet again, you take care.